Public affairs programming on Look TV is underwritten by the generous support of Pinnell's Restaurant, classic Italian American food since 1922, and Stored Tech, technology solutions for computers, networks, and phone. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
1922, Babe Ruth debuts with the Yankees. WGY signs on air. Exterminator wins the Saratoga Cup, and Pinnell's Restaurant opens its doors for the very first time. For 5 generations, Pinnell's has been preparing delicious Italian food, served in a comfortable, home-like setting where everyone is welcomed. 90 years of authentic Italian recipes, 90 years of the freshest ingredients, and 90 years of the finest classic Italian dishes, all made daily by hand. Pinnell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga dining tradition since 1922.
Most cybersecurity firms deal only with prevention, the systems that block hackers and viruses. Stored Tech knows the root cause is actually good people doing bad things. So we offer a security training program which includes certifying all participants to show they understand the basics.
Technology solutions for computers, networks, and phones. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
The Saratoga City Council meeting, an inside look at the decisions that affect you and our community.
Okay, good evening. Welcome to City Council meeting Tuesday, July 7th. I believe it's today, 7th? Yes? Okay, July 7th. 7 p.m. We have no public hearings tonight. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Frank?
Present.
Commissioner Madigan?
Present.
Commissioner Saratoga?
Here.
Commissioner Dalton?
Present.
Mayor Kelly?
Here.
Supervisor Beach?
Here.
Supervisor Gasko? Here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on the agenda is our public comment period. The public comment period will be for 15 minutes. I ask you to try to keep your comments brief, up to 2 minutes. Please be respectful to the speakers while they are addressing the council, and please address the council as a whole. If you would like to submit your comments in writing, you may do so by regular or electronic or by providing it to the city clerk. Written comments must include your name and address in order to be placed on the record. Anyone who wishes to come forward to address the council may do at this time. Please state your name and address. Anybody for public comment?
Hi, my name is Darlene McGraw. I live here in the city of Saratoga Springs. I wanted to just say I believe we should have better accountability here in our city. This is our city. Our roads are getting damaged and we have a lack of appropriate care and infrastructure for our water infrastructure. I am also asking for a numerical value of our workforce and affordable housing, and I have a donation of monetary value to the city of Saratoga Springs. Who should I give it to?
You can give it to the clerk.
Okay. Here you go. I wanted my 2 cents, I gave it to you. Plus.
$2.
Anybody else for public comment? Then we will close the public comment period and we'll move on to our agenda. Moving on to the consent agenda. Are there any edits to the consent agenda as published? Then I move to that the City Council approve the consent agenda as included with this agenda. This is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The matter passes. On to the Mayor's Department. My first item is an announcement age-friendly survey for Saratoga County. Saratoga County has been awarded an age-friendly planning grant by AARP. The county is engaging in the planning process with the ultimate goal of applying for and receiving age-friendly certification from the World Health Organization. The survey will be open until September and has been posted on the Saratoga County Public Health and the City of Saratoga Springs Facebook pages. I encourage all of our community members to complete this survey. My second item is appointments to the Community Development Citizens Advisory Committee. I am very pleased to announce we have 4 appointments this evening to the Community Development Citizens Advisory Committee, 2 which are reappointments. I will be reappointing Rich Ferguson, who has served as chair for the CDCAC for nearly 20 years, and I'm also reappointing Pamela Polachek. I thank them both for their service, and I look forward to working with them in the following years. My 2 new appointments are Alberto Matos and Ray Ruiz, both of whom live in our community and will make excellent additions to this committee. All 4 terms will last from 7/7/20 to 7/7/23. My third item is discussion and vote approval of the 2020 Recreation Summer Camp Personnel Hourly Wage Rates. The Recreation Department is requesting to set this year's wage rates for the Camp Assistant Director at $20 an hour and the Camp Counselors at $14 an hour. Both positions are seasonal and part-time positions. The duties have been adjusted to support a new approach to this summer camp program. These rates allow us to attract a wider range of applicants so we can have the best possible summer camp for our community's children. I move that the City Council approve the 2020 Recreation Summer Camp Personnel Hourly Wage Rates. This is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Really happy that you guys are able to open summer camp. Makes a really big difference, so thank you. Thanks to the rec department.
Yeah, the Recreation Department has worked diligently to create a very unique program that will take place here at the rec center, and I do believe we still have some spots open, but they are limited. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The matter passes. Fourth item is discussion and vote approval of the revised 2020 Standard Field Use Agreement, 2020 Saratoga Little League Field Use Agreement, 2020 Saratoga Miss Softball Field Use Agreement, and 2020 Saratoga Wilton Youth Baseball Field Use Agreement. These field license agreements were updated due to the reduced labor in the Department of Public Works and the current New York State guidelines for related to COVID-19. The insurance requirements have not changed. I move that the City Council approves the revised 2020 Standard Field Use Agreement, 2020 Saratoga Little League Field Use Agreement, 2020 Saratoga Miss Softball Field Use Agreement, and 2020 Saratoga Wilton Youth Baseball Field Use Agreement as included with this agenda. This is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The matter passes. My next item is a memorandum of agreement between the City of Saratoga Springs and the Capital District Transportation Authority regarding Geyser Road and Route 50 improvements. The CDTA is moving forward with their plans to construct new bus station on Geyser Road in support of the city's ongoing Geyser Road projects. The CDTA will reimburse the city for the construction of the new infrastructure, and so the city will not be spending any money on this item. CDTA will be responsible for the maintenance of this new infrastructure. I move that the City Council approve the memorandum of agreement between the City of Saratoga Springs and the Capital District Transportation Authority regarding Geyser Road and Route 50 improvements as included with this agenda. This is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The matter passes. My next item is discussion and vote approval of paper street conveyance and authorization for mayor to sign transfer documents. And I would ask Vince DeLeonardis to just give us a little update on this.
Thank you, Mayor. I sent every council member an email.
Is that like that?
You just have to get closer, Vince.
I sent every council member an email this afternoon trying to give some further information. The agenda item doesn't list the address of the paper street because there is no address associated with it. This is a matter that was before the Real Estate Committee requesting a conveyance of a paper street. The request received unanimous approval from the Real Estate Committee recommending that the city make the conveyance. The paper street at issue is a 14-foot wide strip that runs between Steel Street and Crescent Street and is situated between Adams Street and Jackson Street. We were approached by one of the property owners, Bella Home Builders. All of the affected and abutting property owners were notified. All of the affected and abutting property owners will also receive a portion of this paper street. However, the costs associated with it will all be borne by Bella Home Builders. They will also be conducting the appropriate survey, the appropriate deed work, and this is also something that is currently before the planning board for a subdivision approval, and ultimately the conveyance will be subject to that subdivision approval as well. The price for the conveyance is $8,365.30, and this was determined by taking the average square foot price for land only for the surrounding properties, taking that square foot price and applying it per square foot to the paper street at issue. This was something that was also confirmed by the engineers department, that there is no infrastructure needs, no need for the city to own this property. It's arguably surplus. It's unimproved, just a grassy area. So with the discussion and vote, you'll be approving the conveyance, authorizing the mayor to execute the transfer documents, and those transfer documents will come after the planning board approves subdivision. I don't know if there's any further questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Great. I move that the City Council approves the paper street conveyance and authorizes the mayor to sign transfer documents as included with this agenda. This is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The matter passes. My seventh item is discussion and vote authorization for the mayor to sign deed for sale of workforce housing unit at 289 Jefferson Street, Unit 18. The mayor's signature is required to authorize the sale of the workforce housing unit at 289 Jefferson Street, Unit 18. The workforce housing purchaser has been income approved by city staff. I move that the City Council authorize the mayor to sign a deed for sale of workforce housing unit 289 Jefferson Street, Unit 18, as included with this agenda. This is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The matter passes. My next item is discussion and vote authorization for the mayor to sign deed for sale of workforce housing unit 289 Jefferson Street, Unit 19. The mayor's signature is required to authorize the sale of the workforce housing unit at 289 Jefferson Street, Unit 19. Workforce housing purchaser has been income approved by city staff. I move that the City Council authorize the mayor to sign deed for sale of workforce housing unit 289 Jefferson Street, Unit 19, as included with this agenda. This is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The matter passes. And at this time, I'm going to step out of my seat and have Commissioner Frank do his department from my seat. Thank you.
Skip. Make sure it's over your,
Yeah, okay.
just check.
We got social distancing.
Just want to make sure.
Mayor, do you want to sit here so you can vote still?
Nobody can see.
I know.
Sit there so you can vote.
Just in case. Yeah, sure. I'll vote for you.
Thank you, Mayor. The first item is discussion and vote, accept donation of hand sanitizer for Cooperstown Distillery. The city received another donation for Cooperstown Distillery for 50 to 64-ounce bottles of hand sanitizer. These bottles were distributed to departments within the city, Wesley Senior Citizen Center, the Chamber of Commerce, and for the downtown business use. I'd like to thank, again, Cooperstown Distillery. Therefore, I move to accept the donation of hand sanitizer from Cooperstown Distillery, a value of $300. That's a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The matter passes.
Thank you, Mayor. The second item is award of bid extension of bid HVAC services to BPI Mechanical for Department of Public Safety. Upon the recommendation of the Department of Public Safety, I move to extend the bid for the HVAC services to BPI Mechanical for the Department of Public Safety for an additional year under the same terms, conditions, and prices as in bid 2017-25. That's a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The matter passes.
Thank you, Mayor. The third item is award of bid extension of bid service, plumbing services to BPI Mechanical for the Department of Public Safety. Upon the recommendation of the Department of Public Safety, I move to extend the bid for plumbing services to BPI Mechanical for the Department of Public Safety for an additional year under the same terms, conditions, and prices as in bid 2017-13. That's a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The matter passes.
Thank you, Mayor. The fourth item is an appointment for Joy King to the Board of Assessment Review. I am appointing Joy King to the Board of Assessment Review. Her term will run from October 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2025. My fifth and last item is award of bid sodium hypochlorite to Surplus Chemical Company, Inc. upon the recommendation of Department of Public Works. I move to award the bid for sodium hypochlorite to Surplus Chemical, Inc. for the amount stated in bid number 2020-12, and that's a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The matter passes.
Thank you, Mayor. It concludes the agenda.
Thank you, Commissioner. On to finance.
Thank you, Mayor. The first item on my agenda is a discussion and vote resolution in memoriam for Remija A. Foy, 1929 to 2020. The city lost a distinguished citizen and devoted public servant on June 30th, 2020, Remija Foy. In her honor, I am presenting the following resolution for council vote. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Saratoga Springs in memoriam Remija A. Foy, 1929 to 2020. Whereas Remija A. Foy, native Saratogian, scholar, educator, and former Saratoga Springs Commissioner of Finance, died in Saratoga Springs on June 30th, 2020. And whereas Commissioner Foy served on this council in two very different decades. When she first took office in the 1970s, Saratoga Springs was still a small city that transformed for a few weeks each summer. When she returned to office in 1990, the city had become a year-round center for tourism, business, industry, and the arts. Through all her years of service, she recognized the need to respond to our newfound progress, but she also understood the importance of preserving and protecting the history, tradition, and character that make our city a special place. And whereas she served at a time when the number of women seeking public office was small, and in doing so, she inspired many others. Many of the policies and programs she worked to establish in the Finance Department are still relied on today, and her work will continue to benefit Saratoga Springs for many years to come. Now therefore be it resolved that this City Council hereby honors the memory and legacy of Commissioner Remija A. Foy and extends sympathy to her family. I move that the City Council approve the resolution in memoriam Remija A. Foy as included with this agenda. This is a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The matter passes.
Thank you, Council. The second item on my agenda is an update from the Finance Department, COVID-19 and city finances. I've been providing this update now regularly since, well, the beginning of this pandemic as we know it. So I will provide a brief summary of the city's fiscal year 2020 status and discuss outlook for 2021 as it relates to the 2021 budget process. Our current status, many locations across the United States that have reopened have found it necessary to close again, and about 40 of the 50 states have seen a significant resurgence of COVID-19 cases. Cases have been steadily declining and stabilizing, though, in New York. While New York has begun reopening, the governor has initiated a phased-in reopening plan based on well-defined metrics. Different businesses may reopen within each phase, and safety plans are required to do so. The state has been divided into 10 regions. Saratoga County is in the capital region. The capital region is now eligible for Phase 4 of New York State reopening plan. Phase 4 allows the following to reopen, subject to detailed guidelines, regulations, and procedures for each. Higher education, low-risk outdoor arts and entertainment, low-risk indoor arts and entertainment, media production, professional sports competitions with no fans. There remain significant restrictions in place that will limit the operations of the above categories. Events, activities, organizations, and industries will not be the same as they were before the pandemic. Neither will the economy. The city cannot expect revenue to rise to former levels immediately upon the reopening of downtown. It will be months, if not years, before the new economy establishes itself. Moreover, social, behavioral, consumer changes, closed businesses, widespread unemployment, and other results of COVID-19 will continue to affect revenue collection well into the future. From January to June, the city's reserves, assignments, and revenue collections have diminished. In contrast, expenditures continue in accordance with the 2020 budget plan, and that did not account for this. Through May, we absorbed this using fund balance, and June was our break point. We had several million in expenditures due, which nearly totaled the amounts available in our cash balance. The good news, on June 30th, the state released 80%, or 1.86 million, of our annual VLT amounts. Yay, that was very good. I'll take 80%.
Yay.
This is a welcome contribution to our current cash flow and will certainly help cover the cost of hosting the track, which are considerable regardless of whether fans are in attendance. The less good news, actual 2020 sales tax collection from January through May is 21.6 lower than the same period in 2019. May 2020 is 37% lower than May 2019. But we have stabilized the city's cash flow needs by, one, obtaining a short-term loan in the amount of $6.3 million. The interest rate is 0.15%, bid competitively, and Adirondack Trust took up that bid for us. But it must be repaid in full with interest, that minor interest, in June of 2021. Obtaining department expense reductions totaling $3.4 million. These will decrease expenditures across the next 7 months from June through December. We did initiate a furlough program that was to decrease expenses by $277,000 through the end of July, with an additional $104,000 recouped from the federal government and unemployment assistance. While several furloughed employees have been called back. So this program provides a modicum of savings. And we have been using our fund balance, which is exactly what it's for, the rainy day fund. Our next milestone will be October 2020, at which time we'll face difficulties meeting payroll and warrant expenditures. Remedies going forward, the following may be available to address city's next cash shortfall: additional loans, budget and deficiency notes, both available during events like the pandemic. Both tap out at 5% of our general operating budget, or $2.5 million. They may be repaid over 5 years. There is current state legislation awaiting the governor's signature that would extend this to 7 years, which is very positive, but require a substantial principal payment each year. Short-term bank loans secured by anticipated tax collection, TANs, and anticipated revenue collections, RANs. Further expenditure cuts, employee wage negotiations included but not limited to, potentially a second round of furloughs, although I rather doubt we're going to go down that path. The Finance Payroll Office has recently reported, though, that the federal stipend of $600 that is added to state employment benefits has been extended from July 31st end date to December 31st. This may make a second round of furloughs more viable. Deferred raises, payment on a lag, retirements, and retirement incentives. Federal and state programs yet to emerge, but there are several state programs that look very promising on the horizon, and everything is pointing toward potential federal program that looks very promising come maybe the end of July. So there's lots of news to just, keep our finger on the pulse. Mm-hmm. So now to discuss the 2021 general operating budget, which is next year's budget. The 2021 budget call letter began at the end of last week with the release of the call letter. The call letter asks departments to submit their budget requests and provides guidelines for doing so. The call letter was included with the agenda material, so it's been uploaded for the public. The city is required to adopt a balanced budget as the charter states, Title IV, Section 4.4.6, which means that the total of anticipated expenditures must equal the total anticipated and available revenue. Any reductions in revenue require equal reduction in expenses. Planning the budget for 2021 fiscal year will be a different exercise than in years past. The city of Saratoga Springs has been accustomed to growing financial resources to match its excellent services and evolving initiatives. This year, we join local governments across the state and the nation in fulfilling our duties to protect the public health and welfare with a compromised, albeit recovering, economy and reduced funding sources. Revenue deficits for 2021 are currently projected to be about $7.8 million. 2021 estimated revenue spreadsheet was included with the agenda materials. Assumptions include the following: 15% reduction in certain revenues, most likely to be affected by economic conditions. Reductions based on 2020 actual amounts received, VLT aid, state aid, AIM, but VLT will remain a wild card for next year because casinos have not even opened yet this year. Or they have not been allowed to open. Reductions based on 2019 actual amount received, NYRA general admissions tax, which, as you may recall, in 2019 were comparable to what the city received in 2010. Use of reserves, we do have reserves which are available to us that we will be using in the 2021 budget. Use of fund balance will likely not be available or not much available in the 2021 budget as we are using it to maintain our 2020 budget. Potential property tax rate increase, 5%. So let me take a moment to discuss this. The city receives about $16.3 million annually in property tax revenue to support a general operating fund of about $49 million. Property tax dollars support about 1/3 of the costs required to run the city. Almost $33 million of our annual budget is subsidized by other resources. When the other resources decrease, property taxes must fill in our expenditure, or expenditures must be reduced, or both. This is a difficult reality that all cities, towns, and villages will be facing. This administration will do its best to minimize this inevitability. For the sake of an example, a potential 5% tax increase has been considered. This is a sample and an estimate only. I will repeat that for clarity, a sample and an estimate only. A 5% tax rate increase would result in an annual tax increase on homes assessed as follows. $60 for an annual, it would be an annual increase on a home assessed at $200,000, $106 for a home assessed at $350,000, $120 annual increase for a home assessed at $400,000, and $200 annual increase on a home assessed at $650,000. These figures demonstrate the contribution in actual dollars that taxpayers might be asked to help sustain the city of Saratoga Springs while it recovers from the unprecedented and once-in-a-lifetime experience of a pandemic of 2020. A 5% property tax increase would also require an override of the current property tax cap and a supermajority council vote. It remains to be seen, though, if the governor will be revising this law to adjust to the economies of the pandemic. Given these projections, the fiscal year 2021 general operating budget revenue is anticipated to total $40.9 million. This is 16.1% less than the $48.7 million budget adopted for 2020. Expenditure requirements must follow suit. Departments have been allocated a percentage of the total 2021 anticipated revenue based on the percentage of the 2020 total general fund budget that each commanded. Each department has 16.1% less to work with than in 2020. These amounts are included in the call letter. Departments are requested to factor increases for health insurance into their allotted amounts. The 2021 budget is no doubt a daunting task for each department and the city as a whole. Please be assured that as the economy evolves, budget plans for 2021 will follow suit, and as we get more information from the state, and there are promising things on the horizon, including the notion of running a deficit budget, which opens up some potential long-term aspects to us, but we don't fully understand all of that yet. We're getting more information from NICON and from the state, and of course the federal government offering stimulus. Council has until November 30th to approve its 2021 budget, and finance will continue to look for ways to increase revenue. So in closing, we've made a great deal of progress. I feel very good about where we are with 2020. We must prepare for the coming months and plan for 2021. That's really where our focus needs to be right now. Information changes every day, and I will continue to work with new data and pursue new ideas as we manage to revamp and rebuild the city of Saratoga Springs. Again, I will extend my appreciation to each and every department, as well as our citizens, taxpayers, businesses, and nonprofit communities of the city. This has been difficult and will continue to be challenging. Everyone's hard work and support is very much appreciated.
Can I ask a quick question? Am I allowed for questions?
Sure.
So I think this is more of a Commissioner Frank question than it is Commissioner Madigan question, but a lot of people have been asking me if we're going to reassess or do a reassessment because they're nervous, and I don't know the answer to that, and so I figured I would ask since it was...
Yeah, no, we're not going to reassess the city. Reassessing would not change your tax levy, it would just change how it's distributed between properties, but it would cost millions of dollars to reassess, and obviously with all the shortfalls.
That's kind of what I thought. There's a large expense associated with reassessing, is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, it takes about 3 years
of
appraisal fees and then lawsuits and all that other fun stuff.
Thank you.
Any other questions for anybody?
No, thank you for that very comprehensive update.
Thank you. Item number 3 is a discussion and vote budget amendments for payroll, lines 1 through 2. Our reimbursement for Chowderfest was returned to the DPW budget in the amount of $2,188. Lines 3 through 7. The Recreation Department budget has been increased to include revenue and payroll expenses for a 5-week summer recreation program. These total $45,640. A separate budget amendment was included on the consent agenda, which increased the Recreation Department budget to include revenue and non-payroll expenses for the 5-week summer program in the amount of $11,360. The cost for the summer program totals $60,492. The program is self-supporting and budget neutral. I move that the City Council approve the budget transfers payroll as included with the agenda. This is a motion.
Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The matter passes.
Thank you. Then my next item is a discussion and vote, budget transfer from contingency. Lines 1 through 2 are to transfer funds from contingency to the Finance Department for a deputy through the year end in the amount of $40,000. The contingency budget appropriation currently has a balance of $130,145.39. Following the approval of this transfer, there will be $90,145.39 available. I move that the City Council approve, well, first, before we move, I want to point out that I am planning to bring Deputy Commissioner Deirdre Ladd back, and she will start on a part-time basis. So there will be no benefits attributed to that, but she will be here on a part-time basis. So with that, I'll make my motion. I move that the City Council approve the budget transfer contingency as included with the agenda. This is a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I would really love to have Deirdre back in City Hall. I think she was fantastic when she was here, and I just think she would be a real asset if we had her back.
Thank you. I absolutely agree. And she's needed.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Okay, the matter passes.
Thank you. So that concludes my agenda.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Mayor.
Yep, on to Public Works.
Thank you, Mayor. The first item on my agenda is discussion and vote authorization for the mayor to sign a contract with Surpass Chemical Company Incorporated for water treatment plant chemicals. Surpass Chemical will supply the city with sodium hypochlorite for the water treatment plant in the amount of .853 cents per gallon for a total of $34,120. And for reference, budget reference, its funding is in budget line number F363-8334-54141. Therefore, I move for the mayor to sign a contract with Surplus Chemical Company Incorporated for the sodium hypochlorite chemicals for the water treatment plant in the amount of $34,120, and I put that in the form of a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The matter passes.
Second item on my agenda is discussion and vote. This is approval to accept a donation from Saratoga Miss Softball. Saratoga Miss Softball is donating a 24-foot wide by 12-foot high by 60 feet long double batting cage to be installed at Veterans Memorial Park between Fields 1 and 2. The value of the donation is $14,120. And just for more reference, that they will fully take full responsibility for the maintenance of these cages. So therefore, I move for the approval to accept the donation of $14,120 for batting cages from Miss Softball, and I put that in the form of a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
That's awesome.
That's
Yeah.
good. Yeah, they're nice. They're really nice.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The matter passes.
And that concludes my agenda.
Thank you, Commissioner. On to Public Safety.
Thank you, Mayor. The first item on my agenda is an announcement with the Phase 4 reopening. Commissioner Madigan actually did a fantastic job of summarizing what opened up in Phase 4. We started Phase 4 last Wednesday. One of the things, though, that I need to bring up because it's become a serious citywide problem is people not complying with the governor's executive order, which recommends wearing face masks when they are out in public and believe they may be in a situation where there are less than 6 feet between them and other individuals. I don't know if you all have noticed this, but I go downtown, especially on the weekends. I live right downtown. I'll do a loop of downtown on a Friday or Saturday night, and I would say maybe 20% of the people I see are wearing a face mask. And this is a problem for a lot of reasons. Obviously, the health risk is the number one concern. Although we are keeping a very tight watch on the dials, you can see the rest of the country COVID is spreading like wildfire. And the second that comes back here, if it comes around this fall and people don't wear face masks, we're in real trouble. Second of all, I get emails, phone calls, complaints constantly about the police department not enforcing people wearing face masks. And I have said this over and over and over again, but I need to make it clear here again tonight. The executive order does not give local municipalities such as ours any enforcement measures to force people to wear a face mask. We cannot ticket them, we cannot fine them, there's nothing we can do. It is simply a guideline. The executive order does not give us that teeth. Last week, the governor sent out an email indicating that he was going to be writing up more enforcement language, specifically to help municipalities such as ourselves enforce these safety protocols with the face masks. But until that happens, it's incumbent on us as a community to get people to wear them. And I'm at the point where I am out of ideas. And I'm also out of time and a little bit of patience in terms of how many times I've had to explain this over and over and over. I mean, in the last 4 months, I honestly can't believe I'm still sitting here talking about the necessity of wearing a face mask. So I'm putting it to the city council, I put it to the community. We need to come up with some ideas here. I don't know what they are, but we have to fix this problem because it is a problem. And there are people who are at home who are too afraid to go downtown because they're immune compromised and they're afraid they're going to get sick. There are people who want to travel here who are not traveling here because they've heard that people here are not compliant with safety protocols of wearing masks specifically. There are people working in our restaurants who are getting abused by customers who won't leave tips because when they stand up from their table, they ask them to put on a mask to walk to a bathroom and they won't do it. I mean, we are really in a bad spot. And the only enforcement that can happen, which really will affect the entire community, is that the state can come in if people complain on the state's website about businesses, our community in general, events that are happening here. If enough of those complaints pile up, we can be shut down as a city. Restaurants will lose their liquor licenses. People can be fined $10,000, and that's gonna start happening because I see these complaints come in from the state all the time. When they come into us, we have to act on them, and we do. Our code enforcement goes out to any business that has a complaint filed against it with the state, and we talk to them about compliance. But we rack up too many of those, we get shut down. Or a restaurant loses their liquor license or fine, as I said before, which in the economic state that we're all in, likely means that that business will be shuttered and will be over. And so I'm putting it to the community, to the council. This is an issue that we have to talk about, we have to address. And public safety has done everything it can, but we need to come up with something creative. So I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, well, I agree with you, Commissioner. I do think as the sun goes down, the masks go off.
Correct.
So I think, I don't see it as much in the daytime.
Yep.
When I walk the streets, but, well, that doesn't sound very good, but,
we follow.
But when I'm out, going up and down, downtown, I don't see it as much in the daytime, but I do take a ride through at night, and I do see that the masks aren't there.
Yeah.
So, honestly, this is all about not being selfish.
Yeah, it is.
You have to know that, we don't know who has COVID.
Correct.
That's the whole thing here, and I think it's up to everybody to protect themselves. But, I know the nightlife. I mean, it's a crazy thing, and I wish I had the answer for you, but I don't, and I think that as a community, we just have to be examples. We have to wear our mask, and I think that we're doing the best that we can.
I agree, and I do say to people, you can only control your own behavior, but you can also encourage the people around you to do the same, and we need to start putting peer pressure on the people we know in our life who are not putting a mask on.
Yeah, so is there any power that a local municipality can have on their own, or do we have to abide?
Not that I have seen anywhere in the state.
We can't pass our own local ordinance? Or?
So when it came to social distancing and mass gatherings, there was enough language in the executive order and enough language in our own city charter and code that we could kind of combine those and come up with some fines for not social distancing and mass gathering. That was back in March, but there isn't enough language to do that with face masks.
Well, we'll keep working
anyhow,
on it.
we'll keep
Thank
working
you.
on it, but I just wanted you all to know you're all ambassadors of the city the same way I am.
Right.
So if people come to you, please let them know that this is a problem. We're doing everything in, but again, we have no enforcement options. My second item is an announcement about a community conversation we are having tomorrow night. This was a conversation that is in response to the Black Lives Matter protests that we've seen across the country and that we've seen locally. It is a conversation about the future of the police department, about our policies and procedures, and it's about information and answering questions that people have about our police department and how we operate. It was scheduled for last Wednesday. We rescheduled it for this Wednesday. It's going to be at 5 p.m. We'll be putting out a Zoom link. This is not something we can have in person yet, but it is going to be a monthly ongoing meeting that is open to the public. I've reached out to multiple organizations, individuals, to make people aware that this is happening tomorrow night. I'll be publishing the Zoom link in the morning. We'll send it out in an email. We'll blast it on the website. I will let reporters know, such that anyone who wants to can hop on at 5 p.m. and participate. I will be on, myself as commissioner, the chief of police will be on, and the assistant chief of police will be on, and I believe Commissioner Madigan will be on as well in case there's anything specific to budget that needs to be answered. So,
I mean, I'm happy to be there, but,
yes.
you know, it's your show. And
Correct.
I do think that you might get some questions about budget, just because I can see what the rhetoric is.
Yes.
Or, you know.
which I really appreciate. So again, hosted by myself and the police department, but I'm happy to have you on the call in general as a resource. I think it's going to be very helpful. And so that sums up that, unless anyone has any questions.
Well, I just want to make a point that we can't have anybody else at that
Correct.
meeting.
So, yes, actually, that's a really good point. So if we have more than 2 people from the city council, it prompts open meeting laws, and we would be in violation of those if anyone else came on. Right. So Commissioner Frank, Mayor Kelly, Commissioner Sirocco, I would love to have this conversation with you another time, but not live tomorrow at 5 p.m., if that's okay with you.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. The third item on my agenda is a discussion and vote to authorize the mayor to sign an amendment with Axon. This is an amendment to our contract with Axon for cameras in the interview rooms, which are mandated. I make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign the amendment to the contract with Axon Enterprise Incorporated. This is a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The matter passes.
My fourth item is an appointment to the Complete Streets Advisory Committee. I am very happy to announce that Erin Maciel has agreed to be reappointed as my representative on the Complete Streets Committee. I thank her for her service to our city. This appointment is for 2 years and will expire on July 7th, 2022. Really happy to have Erin back. She's a tremendous asset. So thank you, Erin, very, very much.
She's great, and I'm so happy that she's being reappointed
Me too.
and wants to serve again.
She is wonderful. The fifth item on my agenda is a discussion and vote, accept a donation for the Sfpd Canine Unit. I would like to thank Holly Lucy Grandy for her generous donation to our Canine Unit. It was very kind of her and much appreciated. I make a motion that the City Council accept the donation to our Canine Unit from Holly Lucy Grandy in the amount of $500. This is a motion.
Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The matter passes.
The sixth item on my agenda is a discussion and vote, the authorization for the mayor to sign a contract extension with BPI Mechanical Services for HVAC services. This is a contract extension for HVAC for the Public Safety Department. I make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign the contract extension with BPI Mechanical Services. This is a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The matter passes.
The seventh item on my agenda is a discussion and vote, the authorization for the mayor to sign a contract extension with BPI Mechanical Services for plumbing services. This contract extension is plumbing services for the Public Safety Department. I make a motion for the mayor to authorize to sign the contract extension with BPI Mechanical Services. This is a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The matter passes.
The eighth item on my agenda is a discussion and vote and authorization for the mayor to sign a lease agreement with Rico. Am I pronouncing that right?
I think it's Rico.
Rico. Apologies, Rico.
That's okay.
This agreement is for the repair and maintenance of 2 copiers in the police department. I make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign the lease agreement with Rico. This is a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The matter passes.
That concludes my agenda. Thank you, Mayor.
If I might take a small break for the supervisors, I need to see Vince out in the hallway really
Sure.
quick. Thank you.
We'll take 5 minutes.
1922, Babe Ruth debuts with the Yankees. WGY signs on air. Exterminator wins the Saratoga Cup, and Pennell's Restaurant opens its doors for the very first time. For 5 generations, Pennell's has been preparing delicious Italian food, served in a comfortable, home-like setting where everyone is welcome. 90 years of authentic Italian recipes, 90 years of the freshest ingredients, and 90 years of the finest classic Italian dishes, all made daily by hand. Pennell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga dining tradition since 1922.
Most cybersecurity firms deal only with prevention, the systems that block hackers and viruses. Stored Tech knows the root cause is actually good people doing bad things. So we offer a security training program which includes certifying all participants to show they understand the basics.
Technology solutions for computers, networks, and phones. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
Okay, we are back from a break. On to supervisors. Supervisor Beach.
All right, good evening. First on my agenda is, the only item on my agenda is just a quick report on the reopening committee from Saratoga County. Since the last city council meeting, we met twice on June 19th and June 26th. Essentially, each meeting we get updates from Spencer Helwig, who serves on the governor's control room from Saratoga County. Of course, those things seem to be weekly, so it's hard to report what's changed. It's basically we're in phase 4 now, and we're working on that. So we also get updates from public health on how they're continuing the cases and managing the virus. Well, at the last meeting on June 26th, our cases at that point were still fairly steady. As phase 4 started, we have seen a small spike in our cases since last week. And that can be attributed to the various issues of travelers coming to the county, folks in assisted living, and tests for people who are undergoing elective surgery who test positive when they go to get their test done. Sheriff Zerlo updates us on the numbers of COVID-related calls per week. At the county, it's been steady between about 50 to 60 calls per week for COVID issues, mainly for social distancing and people not wearing masks. The sheriff is doing warnings, essentially, as Robin had mentioned. Basically, there's not much of enforcement that they can do. They haven't issued any citations or anything like that at this point. Todd Shimkus from the Chamber and the sheriff did make a short video about how to educate people on wearing masks and the issues that are surrounding this for the sheriff's office. So I'll share that with you so you can see that. And I don't know if it has any use at the city, but maybe it's something you guys can use. Maybe it's something you can't use, but
maybe
at least you'll see it. Yeah, there you go. You can very good. So the other thing that we're working on is PPE and masks. Myself and Supervisor Kanowski from the town of Stillwater are doing a subcommittee on that from the reopening committee. The county is interested and is going to go forward with purchasing masks as assistance for small businesses and the public generally. They will be distributed to the community, so the city should get some once we do this. We haven't put any money into it, or we don't know how many, so I can't tell you what that's going to look like yet. But when we do to make that decision, each community is going to get a certain amount of masks based on their population. So the city will be getting some. And I guess the question is, I know some towns have done mask purchases, but has the city done anything like that at this point?
So are you asking?
Yeah, asking you or anybody at the
Well, I just
council.
know that we had looked into it, especially when this first started in March and April, and it was really hard for us to find somebody who wasn't tacking a commission onto the mask sales.
Yep.
And so and then by the time we kind of got it figured out, the county was able to supply us with these ones.
Right, the first ones,
Yeah.
ones we got on.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, eventually that we're going to continue to do that at the county. And like I say, some towns are doing it, some towns aren't doing it. So again, I've made the point that at the city, we'd like to receive masks from the county if they buy them. So because we haven't really done that yet. And we're going to look into enlisting some help with the Capital Resource Corporation and the IDA, potentially get some funding for that as well to match the county. So at the end of the day, hopefully we'll have a fairly good amount of money we can pay for masks for municipalities and for businesses. We are doing the same thing, researching suppliers, trying to find the right best cost for that. And also looking at the COVID kits that are coming out of the city center. And if they need any help from those, we can help with that as well. If they're missing part of the kit, we can maybe help out and purchase part of that as well. The county does know that this is going to be an ongoing thing for quite a long time, so we're ready to put that funding into it from our end. We just have to propose it through our committee structure and get it approved. We also are having the same discussion that we had tonight at the council table, trying to figure out ways to enforce mask wearing. We've gone around the table on that a couple times the last 2 meetings, trying to figure out ideas on how we can do it. That video was the first thing that we came up with, but really we're looking for ideas as well at the county for how we can try to enforce and help educate people on mask wearing. So
I think it would be great, by the way, and I don't mean to interrupt, to do PSAs. Like, I think PSAs are a great idea. I just know that we don't have the funding or staffing here to carry those out. So I don't know if that's something the county has the ability to do. But
we've talked about PSAs. We haven't done any yet, other than the kind of the low budget video with the sheriff. But other than that, we were kind of talking about that. So I'm willing to work with you on that and include the chair of the committee and all that, and maybe we can share some ideas on that. So, and that's all I had for my agenda. So thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Supervisor Gaston.
Thank you. Am I loud enough? 4 layers, it gets a little questionable. So the first item is a COVID-19 update. As has already been mentioned, so I'm not going to do too much about it. We are now at 40 active cases across the county. That is up from 24 at the end of last week. So when we talk about bumps, we're having a significant increase. An increase is to be expected as we open up, but it's very important, and I am very grateful to the city for setting an example around the county and to all of the residents of our city, wearing masks and making sure that you're maintaining that distance. I think us all setting a good example will be one of the best ways to accomplish it, but it's really important to keep doing that. Most of the time I see people in the city doing it. Let's just hope to keep that up. I won't repeat everything else that was said. Also regarding COVID-19, we have reached an agreement between the county and Saratoga Hospital for the use of the rapid testing machine. So we are purchasing that now, and hopefully we'll have it up running as soon as possible. That means that we will be able to test, get results on individuals, and contact trace them much faster than we are now. There are delays around the country for testing and getting your results up to 10 days. So this machine will allow us to do it within 24 hours, which will hopefully take care of any of these spikes, because we'll be able to figure out what's going on much quicker than we are now. So the second item on my agenda is just an update from the Board of Supervisors. We will be beginning this month in-person meetings again. So they will be at the Board of Supervisors, and they will not be call-in or virtual meetings. The schedule, as normal, is on my official supervisor Facebook page, and if there are any questions or concerns, you can always submit public comment as well ahead of time if you don't wish to come to the meeting itself.
I recommend your page to people for tracking and following COVID. I know I texted you. I hope you got it, because I just have your number all screwed up in my phone for some reason. But I think you put out good data, and I am trying to track exactly what's going on in our county and in our city, because I think things have been so good here, and it feels really good to know that we have these low numbers. You can feel a little more confident about being outdoors, but I do get concerned about an uptick like you just explained to us.
I think it's really important. We stopped putting out daily media advisories a lot because our numbers have been really good, and that's great, but I don't want that to lull people into thinking that it's no longer a problem. Yeah. So the dashboard remains updated on a daily basis on the county website. So any day you can go there and see the number of cases that have been diagnosed, the number of active cases. Fortunately, our hospitalization rate remains very low, and we have had no additional deaths from COVID-19. So,
and that dashboard tells us how many are right here in the city.
Yes, it also tells how many are in the city.
We want to really focus or feature or pin.
You know,
both how many have been diagnosed and how many are active cases within a municipality.
Right. And I will say, one of the reasons when this began, we weren't focusing on the numbers so much is because we knew we were having issues with testing. But especially once we have this rapid testing system up and running, I'll feel much more confident about sharing the numbers. But prior to this, earlier in the spring, I felt like they were giving people actually the wrong idea in terms of community spread, and the numbers weren't really reflecting the true community spread. But I feel
it is important to look at them with a grain of salt, because what we see a lot of is a number that increases significantly on a Monday. That's not because a bunch of things happened. It's because test results came in on Monday.
Yeah, or when you know nobody's in your local hospital with it, then you can feel, so there are, yes, you look at it with a grain of salt, but you take in other external data about what's going on in the community.
And you know what, I think it would be awesome for when you guys have a bump, if you could let me know as soon as possible, then I can share it on our channels in the city, because I know people really, I'm going to be putting up this 40 active cases ASAP when we're done here, because that's a big bump.
Okay, I update every day on my page, but I will make sure if we see a significant bump to direct it.
Yeah, let me know, because sometimes I don't, you know how Facebook is, I don't necessarily it doesn't always come up.
And if there are any other questions about COVID or anything connected to it, anyone on the council or any resident of the city is welcome to contact at any time. Kathy is very familiar with me pestering her with questions. That concludes my agenda.
Thank you. Any other business from the council?
Nice to see you guys in person.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
Public affairs programming on Look TV is underwritten by the generous support of Pinnell's Restaurant, classic Italian American food since 1922, and Stored Tech, technology solutions for computers, networks, and phone. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
1922, Babe Ruth debuts with the Yankees. WGY signs on air. Exterminator wins the Saratoga Cup, and Pinnell's Restaurant opens its doors for the very first time. For 5 generations, Pinnell's has been preparing delicious Italian food, served in a comfortable, home-like setting where everyone is welcomed. 90 years of authentic Italian recipes, 90 years of the freshest ingredients, and 90 years of the finest classic Italian dishes, all made daily by hand. Pinnell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga dining tradition since 1922.
Most cybersecurity firms deal only with prevention, the systems that block hackers and viruses. Stored Tech knows the root cause is actually good people doing bad things. So we offer a security training program which includes certifying all participants to show they understand the basics.
Technology solutions for computers, networks, and phones. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.